And Bald Boy is an adventure horror game about a boy with a glowing head that simply is a bulb. And you are the main character is source of the light. It's working now. Is source of the light, and we'll talk today about a dichotomy of Bald Boy. So there are many layers of dualism and dichotomy there. For example,
yeah, but we need to add that we have already released the game last year in October 2015.
Yeah, it's released.
It's released on PC, Mac. It's available for iOS, Android as well, because we're Unity developers. So it was kind of easier to develop it for the all platforms. Not so super easy, because it appeared we have some difficulties along the way that we weren't aware at the beginning of our work, because that's our first game. And as you can see at this picture, the game is about this glowing kid, which is kind of sweet. You can see he's hugging his little stuffed bunny, and there you've got this really nasty, ugly monster. The huge monster on the left in kabuki mask is possessed poop, and there's Snotty Bunny behind him and Headless Chicken, one of their his main opponents. So the question for our little talk is, and throughout the development of this game was, is it possible to make a game about possessed poop and true love at the same time? So it's dichotomy. It's like dichotomy questions. So we try to create the game which is more true to life, because if you will have only like sweet side of things, you wouldn't like it. It's like if your kid, it's kind of nasty if something is way too sweet, because you cannot really refer to it, because you always like that there is this other side to things that you know. For example, if your kitten, it has sweet little eyes, but there is still some, I don't know, character to him, you like it more because there is this opposing side. So we try to, like this big question, it's one of the questions throughout the game. So is it possible to join contradictions making the game? And the contradictions are on different layers. So it's when you basically speak about art, programming, references, and all of the stuff, there are plenty of contradictions. And one of them is visual contradiction.
Yes,
because
light and darkness. And it's that thing that main character is a spotlight in a dark room. Room is made in 2D in Unity, but some people claim that it looks like a 3D game, but it's because of lighting effects that are simply shader that looks that making it looks like that. Some rooms are completely dark and you are moving your character and lighting it up to looking for items, and some rooms has setting lights, and you can see this playing with light and darkness. So it's dichotomy of visual.
Yeah, it's like also technological dichotomy, because in fact we created in 3D space, it's 2D game, and it's created as completely flat design, but then when you move around, the shadows will move, volumetric shadows will move, which appears for some people like it's a game completely in 3D space. I guess if I wouldn't have a problem with playing MOV on this machine, I would be able to show you a trailer of the game, but maybe I figure this out in a minute. But you can see it perfectly when character moves, and it's funny in a way that in some of the room you are in complete darkness, but in fact we had to create the game in a fully lit version. So in fact, you when designing this game, you have to consider that through creation process, there will be difference between the graphics art that you perceive as a designer, and then when you actually turn the lights on and see how the things will move, how will they appear. So in fact, you have to be really reasonable about putting some lights in there for player to understand correctly what he's supposed to do in some of the rooms. So that's the first layer of dichotomy. So it's a visual and it's connected in technology, and the other one is a storytelling. So we created this game in per room basis. So we had like flexibility to remove or add some rooms because there are no items to carry over one room to another. So in fact, when we started development, we aimed for 25 rooms. We ended up having, I guess, 19 rooms.
Yeah, 17, I think.
17 maybe. So on this room basis, we created the dark room which reflects the present of the character, but there will be some flashbacks, like memories, rooms which shows like delicate feelings and connection between Bald Boy and his grandpa, whose name is Grand Paraffin, so his like old paraffin lamp. So the player who plays the game is not only close in this dark horror environment, but we decided that we will bring some memories from his childhood, like 2 years ago, from the events that happening in the game, that will show the delicate side of things and the delicate touches of characters and the very subtle things that connects them. So basically, it's like you can get scared more if you are transferred from this dark environment to the pleasant memories, and again back to the darkness. So it's like dichotomy in the story of telling some very brutal and dark stuff, and then switching to the very pleasant things. So it's kind of a risky decision, but we made it like this. So switching to the next one, there is also emotional dichotomy, which is, as I mentioned when I started, so there is not only sweet side to the protagonist, but as you can see, his light bulb, so his head can detach, and he's able to carry stuff inside of his mouth. So it's an adventure game, so sometimes you have to carry something with you. So he becomes disgusting in a ways. For example, when you are supposed to fight possessed poop, you can see what is happening here. So it's also not so nice and not so sweet. And even when he eats like one of his opponents, it's a little bit brutal. And for example, when he finds knife, he smiles like a psycho. So there is a little bit of this other side to him. So he is not only like gentle grandson with delicate glass head, but he's also brave and little bit, I don't know, little bit adventurous, little bit risky in a way. So we try to not keep things single-sided. We always aim to show the character from the different angles. And you may wonder why all of the art here is created in grayscale. It's because, in fact, we decided to go with the grayscale art, and then during the process of adding some shader, we found like perfect green for the game, and there are also some sequences in red. So the art is really limited art style because it's in fact only single color with different tones. And if, for example, it's always green, but it only changes to red when you die. So that's for the emotional part of dichotomy. And there is also references part. So dichotomy is there are plenty of Easter eggs in the game, and if you are aware of the high art, consumer of high art or pop art, you will find different references. For example, here you may notice Rembrandt picture and how was it interpreted in the game, and He-Man, it's like a cartoon from 80s, really popular in USA, so it's also transferred into the Wolf's world. It's kind of not his sword is empowered here, but his detachable head. So, in fact, we already have some community on Steam which managed to pick every Easter eggs we have put in the game. So it's a great experience for a designer to be able to notice that players are from different fields, are intelligent, they are noticing things, and in fact they manage to find every hidden Easter egg in the game. I guess there are like 50 of them. So it's like here we've got this part that we can refer to the different players with different backgrounds. So maybe to people who have some artistic background will find Francis Bacon paintings in it, and the other who like cartoons and horror movies from 80s, they will find their references. So moving on next, there is also a dichotomy of gameplay. So we try to not keep it to the adventure point-and-click type of game that you have to collect stuff and give it to somebody, like in the puzzle with the spider that you have to feed him with 3 bags. We try to make the puzzles also arcade-oriented. So, for example, there are parts in the sewers that you have to hide from the worms and move really fast. So, in fact, you're not solving any puzzle. It's more arcade style. So, we try to like join 2 ways of playing in Ball Boy and try to keep the puzzle mechanics simple and based on room. So it was like a big choice and risk for us to invite people from different backgrounds to play this game. And actually, we hadn't have idea what will happen with it, but then we show it to some people on festivals and they like it. So we decided to keep it this way.
So it's dualism of point-and-click genre and arcade genre of the games.
Yeah, so I guess the last dichotomy and it's a coder and artist dichotomy that 2 people like us are working on the project.
That's like very different.
Yeah, and I guess Arthur would like to say something about that.
Yeah, so this dualism simply is about this that game has a strict deadline. You have tasks to do, but this art guy and other art guys always have
some ideas
and creativity. So, for example, there is a scene with dandelions. You have it. We are making it for. We were making it for 1 month because Simon wanted to make it that main character can walk through the grass and touching dandelions. But after this scene, we have to simplify this way of making
approach, and we need to find other solution to limit creativity because we aim to make game in 12 months. In fact, we develop it in 13 months. On our way, we learned many things about it, that we have to limit all the things that there are extra, they are bonus to the main game, and then if you have enough spare time at the end to add some extra touches. So that's one way of understanding dichotomy, that you want to do 2 things at the same time. You want to make so many additional stuff in the game to keep players interested, but if you let the creative side take over, you will end up making this game like 5 years. You have to limit yourself. So it's kind of yeah.
Better is to have simply but good gameplay than complicated but not polished enough.
Yeah, so I managed to open YouTube and I can show you our release trailer. Yeah, thank you. So you may wonder if it was worth it to make it in this way. We were also curious, and so far we have won something like 10 awards, I guess, and were chosen as Google Masterpiece Indie Game, and we also were invited to publish our game in retail version in German-speaking countries by the Dalek, and we kind of make a living making this game, and we're porting it for different platforms. This night we were approved in first step to move to show it in GDC, so probably we'll show it in San Francisco next year, and were awarded by Intel Best Character Design. So in our perception, it was a success, and the whole game was like a big question. Is it possible to make a game about dichotomy? And we're satisfied with the answer the audience brought to us. So that's it for our lecture. Thank you very much, and I hope you like it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bueno, vamos a pasar, si queréis, al piso de abajo para la rueda de prensa y el coffee break, y a las 12 nos vemos aquí de nuevo.